Peace and blessings. This is Unplug 'em. In the wake of the Super Bowl and on the heels of that fervor and the ritual that we always have come to expect now during halftime, a lot of events have been coming over the news, and I've had a few people ask what is my take on them. Of course, we have the tragic episode with Bobbi Kristina, who we know they're grooming to be used as a sacrifice like her mother. Well, it goes back to the meaning of all of our holidays, even ones seemingly as innocent as the Groundhog's Day holiday. Let's look at some things. All holidays we can trace back to pagan days. Holiday itself, the word Holiday, is hiding a very simple meaning. Holy day. I and Y interchangeable. The original spelling of Isis, YS. Let's look at some things. Now, this is the 3-year anniversary of Marley Graham's death. Okay, for those who may recall, he was the young man killed in the Bronx. Constant Malcolm still lives in the Bronx apartment where her 18-year-old son, Marley Graham, was shot and killed by a New York City Police Department officer 3 years ago on Monday. Now, of course, this story out of all of the brothers and sisters who are shot, who are harassed, who are abused by police departments, and not only do we not hear about it the first time, but we certainly don't hear about it on a 3-year anniversary. But it's part of the fervor, part of and again, it's an awareness that should have always been there. Okay, I'm not saying it should not be there. Of course, she should have justice for her son, as much as that can be done. Okay, but we're talking about the media. We're not talking about the mother. We're talking about the media and the way that the media uses and exploits people, especially people from certain communities, and they're doing a lot to drum up the race war programming, the black and white chessboard that you see exemplified on the floors at Masonic lodges means more than darkness and light. Okay, it means more than the male and female principles of their God. It also has to do with their use of the Hegelian dialectic, of always pitting both sides against the middle, like people would say. Problem, reaction, solution, thesis, antithesis, or antithesis, and synthesis. The sin thesis, or the synonymous thesis, the two things going together. The very thing that they wanted to do in the first place is achieved. So we're looking at a part of that programming, but we're also looking at part of this big ritual. Right now we're during the time of Imbolc. No, not in vogue. Hold on. Imbolc. Let's look at it. Interesting, when I first started getting questions, well, what do you think happened to Bobbi Kristina and this, that, and the third? You know, I don't keep up with the entertainment world like I once did. But I did think that it was interesting, because I remembered that when I looked up this stuff back when Don Cornelius passed. Okay, we're in that same time period, during that same festival, during that same ceremony, or the repercussions from it. And when I looked it up, you know, because I didn't remember the name of it, but I just knew that there was a festival going on in the first part of February. And it was Imbolc. Sometimes it's spelled with a G at the end. But what was interesting was when I typed in Imbolc 2015. And, you know, out of all of the things that I could have seen pop up first, which I expected it to be pagan sites or New Age or, you know, white witchcraft sites, First thing that comes up is from the International Business Times, 22 hours ago. The pagan festival known as Imbolc is the precursor to Groundhog Day and Candlemas, like Christmas or Christ Mass, Candlemas, a mass using candles. And when we look into our next Songwriter Secret video, which that and the other one are coming, you know, it takes a lot of editing to get it like I want it done this time. But you'll see the use of candles is very prominent in witchcraft. Certain spells can be done simply with a candle and a mirror. Well, candles are very important, and Candlemas and Groundhog Day. Let's look at that, because you know we think Groundhog Day is all about a little rodent crawling out of a hole, and whether he sees his shadow or not determines how much more winter we'll have. Well, let's go here. Let's go straight to it. Okay, and pray. Let's pray. Bobbi Kristina, I remember when she was a baby girl in Jet magazine, and the way some of the people now look at or fuss over Blue Ivy is kind of the way that we looked at her. And she, you know, she's a victim, ladies and gentlemen. Young people who are brought up in this business and not told everything about it, like you could imagine some parents would do for their children. They would want to shield some of the more gory details of what daddy has to do or what mama has to do in order to give you this good life that I want you to have. But if you really knew the type of things that mama has to go through or that daddy has to go through in order to ensure this life for you, you would not want to be a part of it. And she stepped into some things. And old devilish Clive Davis, I'm sure, has been grooming her. And if they couldn't groom her properly for mind control, perhaps she would not take to the programming properly. That does happen. You know, the devil don't win always. Then, you know, things like this can happen. When things like this happen, it's because you weren't able to be used in another way. If you were able to be used in another way and could really fulfill that other role, then you can be spared of this role. But this is a role that, because of her bloodline, ties to the music business, her mother and her grandmother. Okay, her grandmother sang with Aretha Franklin, and we're going to look at a couple of things. This is what this is all about. And I've even considered that, you know, what would be the illest thing would be to allow for her life to linger until the date of her mother's death. But what we're going to do is we're going to ask that the soul fetcher demon loose her. But let's move forward. That'll be for those who are on that page already. If not, disregard. But now let's look at some things to take it out of the realm of coincidence and into the realm of coincidence, because too many things coincide for there to be nothing of this. Now there'll be plenty of videos on Katy Perry's performance and on the sharks and the meaning of the shark, which has to do with the abyss, things coming out of the deep. Okay, and people talking about the score and the meaning of that, because it, you know, if you notice certain things about the score, okay, the even numbers and the divisibility by 4, but we'll let others deal with that. Okay, I'm gonna stay in my lane. Let's look at some words. The Super Bowl. First of all, I thought, what bowl? Bowl of what? Super Bowl of cornflakes? I don't know. So I thought for a second, I said, well, probably the older one is probably the Rose Bowl. And if that's the case, I can make some connections. Well, my hunch was right when I looked it up. The first bowl game, the Rose Bowl. Well, let's look at a few things. The Super Bowl. We have the combination of 2 words. What 2 words are they? You say it's super and bowl. I say it's superb an owl, the perfection of the wisdom of the great work. Again, the symbolism that they use to speak to one another. They speak sentences to one another in front of our faces by using codes and symbols that we're not aware of. Okay? So this, again, and there's a Super Bowl every year. All right? But now we're in a time unlike any other. If you're really aware of that, that's not a secret to you. We are in some very key times. And that's to both sides of the spiritual battle. It's key to both sides. And the armies of darkness, quote unquote, the cowards that be, they are scrambling to complete their work before what they believe to be the arrival of their king. And so the superb owl, the perfect owl, the perfect wisdom, the perfect one, the shining one, the light bearer, the superb owl. Also, you find even more. Again, many layers, like an onion. Okay, that's how they use their symbology. There's a top layer meaning, which is the exoteric or exoskeleton, the outer exit, and the esoteric meaning. Well, we even find more meaning, because when we have done our spell videos, we looked at the letter B. We realized that B is often used to symbolize 13 on the low, because a B, a false letter, mind you. Look at the spell videos. That'll break that down more so for you if you need and want that. But a B is a 1 and a 3 pushed closely together, a 13. Also, the McDonald's sign is a play off of 13 the same way, turned on its side. The arches would be the humps on the 3. If you would shift it up, rotate it once counterclockwise, it would stand upright like the McDonald's sign and be a 13 also. Why the 13? Symbolic of the families, the family lines. And it's interesting who won and who's the owner of who won. Okay, my understanding is this Mr. Kraft. We're going to look into that also. What bowl from the first? The Rose Bowl. Why the Rose Bowl? A bowl of roses. Symbolic. The Rose Bowl. The rose symbolizes the delicate flower, as in the deflowering of a virgin. And we have to remember, when we're talking about their mother goddess, their sex magic, they're always talking about the priestess whore, the whore of Babylon, a goddess whore, who would, for a price, offer salvation in the temple by way of magic sex. And that's what you see going down. And it's interesting because the Rose Bowl is historically known to take place in Pasadena. And Pasa, Spanish Latin origins, coming from pass or happening. Some of my amigos out there can confirm, a form of saying what's happening. Que pasa, or que paso, a as in Latina, or O, Latino, interchangeable to denote plurality or feminizing or masculine, or making feminine or masculine the word. Pasadena for Diana, the happening of Diana, and again, or the pass of Diana, and pass as in highway or roadway or path, like overpass. Okay, so the road or happening or the way to Diana, or way of Diana, who is also symbolized by all of the mother goddess representations that you've had over history. That's Isis, that's Kali, that's Semiramis, that's Ashtar for you Eastern stars. Okay, the mother goddess, the Catholic Holy Mother, also representative of this same whore, priestess whore, goddess whore, priestess of Babylon. When people worship Mother Mary, or say, the Hail Mary thing, the Catholic priest will tell you inside of the confessional, all is well, your sins have been forgiven you, go and sin no more, say 30 Hail Marys and Our Father, and you're good to go. That's the prescription, and that's utter foolishness. And also represents the Queen of Heaven, as is mentioned in the scripture. And we are in the days of Revelation. So the rose symbolism, the mother goddess symbolism, and the bowl always went together from the very beginning. So when we see the Super Bowl, this is the highest height, the apex, the climax of bowls. The original bowl being in honor of the mother goddess. So therefore the subsequent bowls also in honor of the mother goddess, honoring various aspects of the mother goddess. The Super Bowl honors the super, or the grandiose, rich, extravagant nature of this temple whore, prostitute, priestess. Also, we're looking at symbolism involving the teams that play. When the buildings were hit downtown New York, the cowards that be spoke in code, using the Super Bowl by allowing for the Patriots to win. In the midst of all of the talk about patriotism and then the Patriot Act, the symbolism all around us, pop culture entertainment is not for your mere enjoyment. It is to program you. Entertainment. Enter, tain, and tame have etymological connection, and ment is where you get mind, hence mentality, mental. So to enter, attain, mind. Recreation, to wreck creation. So all of these things, this bread and circus that they give you, is never as innocent, or their intent for giving it to you is never as innocent as it may appear. You know, you're just getting together. The Super Bowl you know about is the one on TV, and the Super Bowl of nachos and cheese you got on the coffee table. But they're thinking something differently. And if you're thinking one thing while another person is thinking something differently, if you're unaware of that, you can be taken advantage of. And so this is why we do take a look at these things. It's never in fear. And it's also to show that, you know, it's not as hard as some people make it out to be. Sometimes people will show things and they won't explain them, or they'll explain things and they won't show them, or they won't tie the pieces in. And it just kind of leaves you in a limbo to where at the end of the day, if it doesn't all connect for you, you toss it aside anyway. Okay? But these are the days where people with eyes to see are coming from the four corners. Matthew 24 and 24, the elect are coming together, who cannot be deceived. If it were possible, they would be deceived. But it's not possible. We cannot be deceived. Those of us who have eyes to see, and you don't have to have a special degree. Okay, Detroit Public School product, K through 12, Bagley, Bobbi, Hampton, Mumford. Let's go. All right. Patriot Act. Then, now the Patriots win. The environment before when the Patriots won was the Patriot Act, 9/11, the patriotism in the air because of the buildings coming down. Well, now the Patriots win. What's the environment? You have the civil unrest in the air following what was going down in Ferguson, and still unrest in other cities, including the great symbol of this country, the symbolic capital of the country, New York City. Okay, and we're going to look at how that figures in. But you have the civil unrest there. So now you have a new 9/11. The 9/11 now, spiritual to bring about physical results. The 9/11 then, physical, explosion, the smoke, the deaths, to bring about spiritual results. Certain spirits came out of that smoke. Some people saw them. They came upon the land. Now, you have spiritual reality. The abyss opening up and allowing for the false king, the destroyer, to come out, represented by many different signs and symbols. But also, if you remember, the abyss, deep blue sea, the shark, Jaws, the shark also symbolizes the perfect killer. Another way to symbolize the adversary. The mother of the Giants co-owner died Sunday. Well, yes, she was a lady up in age, 85. You can add them up if you want. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can, if you go before the day you're supposed to go, if you go before your time, you're effectively killed and used as a sacrifice. The mother of the giants. The giants were born of women, according to Genesis chapter 6. The NFLim. We have NFLim symbolism right there in that story. Okay? The NFLim were the offspring of women and fallen angels. So this is symbolic of the hybrid programs that have been stepped up, of the coming forth now of NFLim to the scene like never before. You're seeing more entertainers, more politicians than ever who are not what they appear to be in front of you. More of you than ever are able to see videos, before you even see the videos of people transfiguring or manifesting. You can see it yourself live just by watching the news. Now we have eyes to see. The scales have been removed from our eyes, like the Roddy Piper lokes in They Live, as if someone has placed a new filter over our eyes. Some point to the TV. The snake bites its tail, coming out with new technology to make things more and more attractive to the buyer, to the consumer, so the consumer can be consumed by it once they consume it. But perhaps they've given us too much clarity now, and perhaps we're able to see certain things with this digital clarity that we were unable to see using analog. So the very technology that the enemy uses to take out masses of people, on one hand, on the other hand, he bites his own tail with it. Ain't that something? But let's look at this. So I thought it was interesting. The team owner name and that of his mother, Mara. Ann Mara. Giants co-owner John Mara announced his mother's death on Super Bowl Sunday. And again, it's always Super Bowl Sunday. You can watch a football game on Saturday. You can watch one on Monday too, Monday Night Football. But the Super Bowl always must be done on the Sunday because of their usage of sun worship. Okay? And again, they're always marrying this principle of the mother god, of the mother goddess and of the sun god. Okay? The mother goddess, priestess whore, and the sun god. Okay? It's a form of distraction and diversion too, to kind of keep you looking in every direction. Sometimes it's represented as Baphomet, as a goat head. Sometimes it's the sun god representation, or the sun representation like you see on Lay's potato chips or on a Pepsi can. Sometimes it's, and some people say it's Mars, I know. But my point is, you'll see these many different disguises. The names change, but the game's the same. So I thought that was interesting because, again, it all went along with Imbolc. It all went along with this time of Imbolc, where we're at right now. And so I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in coincidence. Things coincide. Okay? So let's look up some more at this page. So we talked about Imbolc, Groundhog's Day, also called Candlemas in pagan tradition. okay, before Groundhog's Day, who is the groundhog coming out of the ground, out of the pit, coming out of the pit. Revelations 9:11 is the new 9/11. More symbolism of that, and why this Groundhog's Day, or this Imbolc, this time of Imbolc was so eventful. The groundhog is Apollyon coming out of the ground, Abaddon coming out of the pit, getting ready to take his place as the great work establishes his kingdom. It's also a part of overthrowing the old gods. This is where you find the message or the meaning in the teams that played. The Seahawks. You have Horus symbolism. The hawk. Well, many archaeologists have noted that the depictions of the Birdmen beings back then, and you have Birdman in the theaters right now with Michael Keaton. You have Birdman in the news with Lil Wayne and their discrepancies over money. Then you have the Carter, one of Ice Cube's associates, who was killed on the set of the Compton movie. That man's name was Carter, and Suge Knight is now up for murder for killing that man. We know Suge is a killer for the business. Suge killed this Carter. Again, you have to look at the messages. Is this a message to Wayne? You know, to say, in short, get it together before we send the goons after you, Carter. But again, lots of events, lots of things went down in the, I like to call it the news writer's secret. Lots of distractionary news, lots of news put out merely for distraction during this time. All right, but yes, many archaeologists will say that the hawk head or bird head stelas that they will find concerning Quetzalcoatl, also concerning the Assyrians, had a reptilish look to it. And we see that with Quetzalcoatl. Okay, we also see that on the different stelas from the Assyrians and the Babylonians. Okay, this scaly skinned bird-headed being. This is the Seahawk. Horus symbolism. Now, sometimes we take the perspective, and I thought this, that, well, they're dedicated to their gods. They're doing things for their gods. They're doing things for their spirits, for the demons that they work for. They're loyal. No, they're not loyal. Aleister Crowley wrote a book called Overthrowing the Old Gods. After so long of seeing that you've been done, you can call it the Ice Cube syndrome. Okay? Worse than Stockholm syndrome. Have mercy. After seeing that for so long you've been used and abused in a certain business, or you've been used by those promising to help you go higher, you start to figure out ways that you can use them. That's what the magicians began to move toward as Crowley got older, and if you want to call it wiser, a little wiser. You know, it's total and utter foolishness and anathema to wisdom to deal with these spirits and demons at all, and to think that you have some degree of power without having the one thing that gives you authority over them. But he thought so, and he began to get to that point in his career where he thought, you know, I'm going to go solo, get my own label, put out my own stuff, whatever. But he was looking at overthrowing the old gods. The great work is also, you know, there are factions within the great work who believe that they can establish their own kingdom, you know, doing as thou wilt, you know, doing their thing, but they believe that they can establish their own kingdom here and not have to bow down to the old gods, Horus or whoever. Yeah, that's right. And that was That's the basis of overthrowing the old gods. And again, that was where the great work was moving toward, or that was the way that the Crowleyan magician circle was moving now. And so that's what we have now. We have a belief that, by the wizards, that they can pull their wizardry together, they can pull their knowledge together, their wisdom together. Wisdom is what makes them godlike. And they can be as gods and overthrow the old ones. Have mercy. Yes, indeed. So yes, that's what we're looking at. And again, this time that we're in, up until February 27th, we're still looking at the manifestations and repercussions of the Babylon working. Okay? And I've got videos on that for those who aren't aware. There are a lot of videos on that, but I can speak to it in some different ways. But we know for a fact that it's going on now. So all of these other things are results, if you ask me, because that's the big daddy. That's the boss of the hot sauce as far as workings go. It's the Babylon working. And interesting too, as I looked at Captain America, the first one, I noted the similarity between Tony Stark's, I believe that would have been the father of the Starks that Downey Jr. played. The father, the old Tony Stark. The way I remember him looking kind of in the cartoon. He looked like a Jack Parsons takeoff. And that's what that was. Because as I watched what was going on in Captain America, I got a lot of confirmation to that they were talking about that, and the importance that America would play to that working, America and England. And yes, just for the rose symbolism, again, always having to do with deflowering or sex or sexuality. Even as they got Eddie, well, you know, Eddie got himself. You can't say they got him. Not only with the rose, but the Playboy Playmate bow tie, leather bow tie. But so the sex magic rituals in full effect, the use and need for blood. There must be blood. Okay, the left shark, of course, the left hand path, always speaking in code. Okay, and if you know their slang, you can pick up on different things that they're saying. So the patriots believe that they can overthrow the old gods. And here now, during the time of Imbolc, this pagan festival, preparation, more and more preparation for the great whore to reveal herself as the destroyer. Apollyon, Abaddon, in this time of revelation. Innocent lives and not so innocent lives hang in the balance because of this. People feel it in the air. And the people seem to have come to their boiling point. What will be done with this energy that's being created to open up this pit, as is exemplified by the Denver mural that's just been placed on the floor at the Denver airport? The new Denver mural. See if we pull that up real fast too, if we can. But yes, so we are in a time like no other. Just keep your eyes peeled. Stay watchful. and pray. And stay aware. Don't get caught in pride. Don't get caught in fear. It's not about fear. It's not about pride. Be aware. Be aware. Be aware of who you are, who's trying to lead you, where they're trying to lead you to. And I'm going to tell you the most important thing that you can do. Open up the scripture, because the scripture is true. And I thank you. I hope that this was informative. I hope that we made some connections here. I think we got to everything. So we are looking at the completion of a working, a great working. The great work is what they call the finalization or the ending of the work. When they're done, they call that, the process of coming to that is the great work. They look for the great work to be finished. And interesting, another name for work, especially when you look at German etymology, you look at the craft or the working. Then I looked at the Patriots owner's name, Robert Kraft. Craft work, witchcraft. A craft is a work, you know, a master of your craft, a master of your work. They're establishing a kingdom for their Lord to take the throne. A Game of Thrones indeed. Well, it's a tight fight, but we win in the end. This is Unplug 'em once again. Thank you. Peace and blessings be upon you. Shalom.